The day we received Carson's diagnosis was the darkest, scariest, and saddest day of our life. But to be honest, we don't remember much of the details, just the words, Prader-Willi. Later on that same day, we met a doctor at Children's Hospital who happened to have a son with Prader-Willi. She asked her son what she should say to us, and he said, simply say, "Congratulations."
My name is Meghan Michie. I am 29 years old, and I have Prader-Willi syndrome. More importantly, I have competed in Special Olympics for 15 years. I have represented Canada in 2 World Games. I competed in swimming and was fortunate enough to win several gold, silver, and bronze medals. My involvement in Special Olympics has helped me become more confident and enabled me to develop life skills that have been extremely important. I have forged new friendships and traveled the world through my participation in Special Olympics. It is truly a privilege to be able to introduce Mr. Timothy Shriver.
So just so you know, we had a moment with President Clinton just a minute ago, and just before, Meghan and I got to talk a little bit about her sports workouts and so on. I said, "What sports are you doing now, Meghan?" She says, "Oh, I'm only doing swimming." I said, "How far do you swim?" "Well, twice a week I swim between 3 and 4 kilometers at 7 o'clock in the morning." You know how many laps that is? I asked, because I mean, I know we're not metric in this country, like I'm going 3K, 4K, I'm thinking I know how far that is. That's 120 laps. What? Anyway, we have 6,000 athletes down on the field. The president starts to give his opening address from the top row of the stadium, and down on the field, all the athletes had been given cameras. In the old days, when people are looking at me like, "What's a camera?" You know, you remember? Right, okay. So they all have their cameras. One of the professional photographers sees a group of athletes. About 12 of them, they all have their cameras to look at the top of the stadium to get a picture of the president. And he notices that all the cameras are backwards. So he realizes they've never used cameras before and they need help. So he goes over to help them and he says, "You know, you're trying to get a picture of the president and the athlete." He says, "You just have to turn the camera around and you push the button and you'll get a good picture of the president." And the athlete says to him, "Oh, thank you." He says, "But if you look through the viewfinder backwards, it works like binoculars, and you can see the president perfectly clearly at the top of the stadium." I offer that story to you because I think many times, as we've heard, there's this sense of isolation, loneliness, challenge, pain. We see so many times the indifference of the world around us. It can lead us, if we don't pay close attention, to feeling like our children are a burden, that they're a challenge, that the world doesn't love them. That it is quite the opposite. And we gather here tonight, yes, to do research, yes, to provide supports, yes, to provide treatments and care and all these kinds of things for people with a special challenge. But we're also here to affirm their gifts. And when Meghan gets up here and talks about swimming 3 kilometers twice a week, I defy anybody in this room to find a better example of grit and perseverance and toughness than she is. There's no pity needed. There are a million different abilities. And the world is only beginning to name and discover what they all are. Everyone in this room has an ability. That's why I like the word diffability. Sounds like you can't pronounce it right. But it just gets people to think maybe a second time about the extraordinary diversity of the human family that we're only beginning to tap into as a culture, as a society, as a planet. We have no time to waste to continue that journey. You have no time to waste to continue to fund the research necessary to give justice and dignity to people with Prader-Willi, and the rest of us have no time to waste to build a world that welcomes and appreciates their gifts. Thank you very much.
This disease, like many of other life's plagues, knows no boundaries. No boundaries of race or income or geography. And it is part of an under-addressed challenge Americans face because 30 million of our fellow citizens have some kind of rare disease. I think in some ways, this is as compelling as it comes. And I don't want to embarrass them, but one of my former agents, their daughter has PWS. And I see parents loving their children, and there is nothing worse in life than seeing your child have a problem that you think you can't do anything about. So tonight you should feel good because you can do something about it. And this is an example of what we can do. I was telling the staff of the foundation here that I first became aware of the problem of rare disease in two very personal encounters close together when I was president. A woman that I confess, I dated in high school, and who was a magnificent athlete. She could ski on one ski and lean over and drag her hair in the water and come up, and her hair was just below her ears. And in her mid-40s, she couldn't walk across a room. She had a rare neurological condition. Then the only available treatment was massive steroids. She gained 95 pounds. One day I was home as president, and she called me. We kept in touch over the years, and she said, "Can I come see you?" I said, "Yes." She said, "I can walk on the treadmill now. I lost 60 pounds. I'm presentable." And she came to see me. She said, "Look, I've had a good life, but you got to do something about these rare diseases because they only seem like they affect a few people. When you look at all of them, they affect a lot of us." Then the niece of Senator Mark Pryor and the granddaughter of Senator David Pryor from Arkansas, the nephew, it got at 9 months of total normal life, he quit developing. The connection between his brain and the rest of his body was totally severed. His eyes saw and couldn't prompt anything. So I did what I could to get as much money as I could, as quick as I could, to finish the Human Genome Project. Because I knew that once we got there, once we had an imprint, that scientists would do things. We did everything we could to keep as much as possible in the public domain immediately. And it would give pharmaceutical companies, researchers, university departments, the tools to go after other things. But we still desperately need non-governmental groups like the foundation you supported tonight. They can do exponentially more because they have the developments that have spun out of the Genome Project. When you give money, whatever you can afford, to this, you're giving it because probably you know people like Ian and Mary, and both their remarkable children. And that's the best reason of all. But you're giving it with a reasonable prospect that you can improve the lives of their children and children yet to come. And with a not unreasonable view that someday complete recovery will be possible. I'd be very surprised if 20 years ago someone with PWS could have won all those gold medals Meghan won. And I know how far 3 kilometers is. It's 1.8 miles. And 4 kilometers is 2.4 miles. And the healthiest I ever was in my life was after I tore my leg up and I had to swim before I could run again. And I swam a mile a day and I thought I was somebody. And here I am, brought low by the star PWS example. I have no idea how the parents of these children mustered the courage to overcome their initial shock and grief. But I know that the person who said congratulations to them knew what she was talking about.